Good morning from Oklahoma. I'm Dave Deacon with a look at what's happening in agriculture and rural life across our great state in this episode of Red Dirt and Round Bales. Some crops just pass through a place. Cotton, well, it didn't quite pass through Oklahoma. Cotton settled in. It put down roots in the red dirt, the creek bottoms, tenant cabins, gin yards, and courthouse towns. It made money. It made misery. It built communities, and it wore people down. And for a long time, if you wanted to understand rural Oklahoma, you had to understand cotton. The story begins well before statehood, back when it was still Indian territory. Actually, the first recorded cotton planting in what is now Oklahoma was in the Choctaw Nation in 1825. Some of it was grown on small farms. Some of it was grown on large plantations. And that part of the story has to be told very plainly. Before the Civil War, enslaved African Americans were forced to work cotton fields right here in Oklahoma. So from the beginning, cotton carried both a livelihood and a burden. After the Civil War, production slowed, but it did not disappear. By the 1870s, cotton was making a comeback. Then came railroads, land openings, settlers, tenants, merchants, and small towns that needed a crop to trade. By 1907, the year Oklahoma became a state, cotton was grown in all but 3 counties. It covered nearly a quarter of the state's cultivated land. And believe it or not, there were around 300 cotton gins operating across Oklahoma. Now, let's get this picture in your mind. Wagons lined up at the gin, mule teams in the road, dust in the air, families in the fields dragging long cotton sacks behind them, picking it by hand until their fingers were sore and their backs felt older than they were. My grandma, who is now 92 years old, was one of those children. And she did that on the land that we bought from her, that she bought from her parents. And when we walk through the east pasture, we think of that and the pain. Because back then, cotton was not just a crop. It was a year. You planted in the spring, you chopped weeds in the summer, you watched the sky, you watched insects, you watched prices. Then in the fall, you hoped there was enough cotton in the field to pay the bills. For many Oklahoma families, especially tenant farmers and sharecroppers, that hope was razor thin. In the 1910s and the 1920s, cotton and tenancy were tied closely together. Families rented the land, worked hard, and often ended the year still in debt. Some families moved nearly every season, chasing better soil, a better landlord, or just a better chance. A cotton field always looks beautiful from the road. White bolls opening under that blue sky. But beauty, well, it did not mean ease. Then came the boll weevil. The boll weevil reached Oklahoma around 1905, and it changed cotton farming across the South. The boll weevil actually damaged the crop from the inside out, working inside the boll where the farmer could not always see the trouble until it was too late. But still, farmers kept planting. World War I pushed demand. Prices rose. In 1919, cotton brought nearly 35 cents a pound, and Oklahoma farmers planted more than 3.3 million acres. And in 1920, they gathered more than 1.3 million bales. Then the price collapsed. Cotton fell to less than 10 cents a pound, and the farm crisis of the early 1920s hit hard. But when farmers were in debt, they often planted more cotton, trying to make up in volume what they had lost in price. But what they didn't take into account, more cotton meant more supply. And more supply meant lower prices. That is a hard circle to live in. Even so, the 1920s became cotton's high water mark in Oklahoma. Acreage peaked in 1925 at more than 5.3 million acres. For a time, cotton was Oklahoma's biggest cash crop, and the state ranked third in cotton production behind Texas and Mississippi. But like a lot of Oklahoma boom stories, this too had a reckoning. The Great Depression came, drought came, federal crop controls came. Under the Agricultural Adjustment Act, Oklahoma cotton farmers plowed up 1.2 million planted acres. During the 1930s, cotton farms declined sharply, and many families just left the land. That was not just a farm adjustment. That was a human adjustment. Gin towns got quieter. Country schools lost students. Families packed up what they could and moved on. Some stayed. Some just couldn't. After World War II, another change came rolling across the fields. Machinery. Tractors replaced mule teams. Mechanical pickers and strippers replaced hand labor. By 1970, machinery had cut the labor needed to grow and harvest an acre of cotton from about 150 man-hours to just 6.5. Now, that meant efficiency. It meant survival for some farms. But it also meant fewer hands were needed, and that changed rural Oklahoma forever. Cotton country changed too. Production became more concentrated in southwest Oklahoma, where irrigation helped keep the crop alive in dry years. The Lugert-Altus Irrigation District began delivering water in 1948, and later, center pivot systems made irrigation even more efficient. By the late 20th century, cotton was no longer the statewide giant it had once been. Synthetic fibers, changing markets, high costs, fewer farm families, and competition from other crops all played a role. But like we mentioned earlier, cotton was not just passing through, and it did not disappear. It adapted. Today, cotton is a crop of improved seed, irrigation, pest control, research, harvest technology, gin trucks, warehouses, and global markets. In 2025, Oklahoma farmers planted 390,000 acres of upland cotton and harvested 350,000. The Oklahoma crop produced 665,000 bales, with lint valued at more than $162 million. So when you see a cotton field in Oklahoma now, you're not just looking at a crop. You're looking at memory. Choctaw farms, enslaved labor, tenant cabins, mule teams, boll weevils, gin yards, Depression-era choices, irrigation ditches, mechanical strippers, and families just trying to make a living under a wide, uncertain Oklahoma sky. Cotton, well, it's been valuable, but it's also been cruel. Cotton has been a lifeline and a gamble. And that's the thing about Oklahoma's history. It's rarely simple, but it is honest if you let it be. And cotton, maybe more than almost any crop in the state, reminds us that agriculture is not just what grows from the ground. It is what people endure to bring it in. To learn more about the history of cotton in Oklahoma, visit reddirtandroundbales.com. I'm Dave Deacon, and we'll talk with you next time when we take another look at rural life and agriculture in Oklahoma on Red Dirt and Round Bales.